Hello and welcome to Full-Time Live. My name is Jack Collins and I am here to wallow. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. And I'm joined by the Cooper brothers. Mr. George Cooper, how you doing?
How you doing? Yeah, I'm all right. Well, actually, I'm not all right.
I'm all right. Yeah, no,
I'm
I'm all right.
fuming. But I mean, just grimly predictable, really, isn't it? As you said, you just got to laugh. But my God.
Yeah, just terrible, frankly. And Mr. Freddie Cooper, how you doing, Fred?
I'm mentally mate, honestly. It's just like, I can't. We'll dissect probably, but yeah.
I don't even want to dissect it. Like it's like you say, it's so grimly predictable, Freddie. Like as soon as the 7 minutes came up, you're like, well, there's 100% chance of conceding one. We're arguably lucky to concede two. Like, what do you do with a problem like Fulham? That'd be my first question to you, Freddie.
Well, the only thing I can really, if I'm trying to put a Sammy James spin on it, optimistic. At least we weren't in the stadium, because that would have been really gut wrenching. If we were in that stadium and they obviously Scott and Nketiah like dribbled it in. It was the most scrappy goal ever. Our goal was a penalty, and it was never a penalty. But yeah, I mean, it's just so painful. As I said to you before, though, Jack, as we went live, we're down anyway. Even if we won, it was still an uphill battle from there. Like.
Big gap in it, 9 points to Newcastle, and then Brighton and Burnley have games in hand. Whether they win them or not, it just feels like the struggle might be too much at this point, George.
Yeah, I mean, like that game was just peak Premiership, wasn't it? Like VAR, like just no flow to it, just the most stagnant game I've ever witnessed. And it was always our game plan was to set up shop, don't let Arsenal have anything. Obviously, don't attack or try and have any attacking interest. Nick a goal and then for dear life hold on. And we got so close, but
very nearly worked.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It was like, I mean, oh God, there must have been no neutrals watching that match. It was just abysmal. But that's the thing is like if he had pulled it off, we'd all be saying, Scott's played a blinder, but it's just such a high risk strategy. You can't go into a game being like, we're just like not going to have any attacking play whatsoever. You just can't do that. It's so high. Even if you do manage to nick one, then like you've just gotten. Honestly, it beggars belief. I mean, we deserve to go down. We really do. There's no two ways about it. It's curtains, and yeah, it's just.
This is the thing. This is the thing. I love on it. I want Parker to stay on, and I think I wholeheartedly agree. He's
really
back up, but yeah.
Why do you want him to stay, Fred?
Because he loves the club, and I think most of the fan base do agree with him.
I like the club, Fred, but I wouldn't put myself in charge either.
I'm sorry, but his philosophy is utterly turgid. We've sat. I can't believe people aren't really. I think people are starting to acknowledge this now. We sit through, especially behind closed doors. We sit and watch his games. 5 at the back. That was awful. We played 5 at the back at Wolves. We had to win that. I can't stand this sitting at the back. I want us to attack. Maybe in the Championship we'll score more goals, obviously, because there's worse defenders. But I mean, someone said on the podcast a few months ago, last season the Championship was dreadful as well. People still forget about that. I mean, there were some games then, but this season I'm really starting to wonder about Parker because
you just said you wanted to stay.
No, but what I mean is I want him to stay, but he needs to change his philosophy really quickly because I'm really like some fans are starting to go off it, and I'm one of them.
Is it Coobs? Is it one where you look at it and you think, he's obviously learning his trade. He's inexperienced, as David says here. Wake up and realize how inexperienced Parker is, and he is. And playing 7 at the back at that point. And Peter Russell tweeted it. He was like, "Fulham have gone to the 7 at the back," and you're like, "Oh, Jesus!" And as soon as you did that, you're like, "Well, we know what's happening here." But there is an element of this. Like, does he need to just like does he need an attacking coach? Like, and I know I mean this in a like a not as simplistic a way as that sounds. Like, as in you get people to bring in different elements of coaching, and one thing that Fulham just aren't particularly good at is creating. And right now under Parker, there are stylistic elements of this that work. Right, there are other elements that don't work. Is there a sense of this is like someone to come in and speed up, that transitional play that we got going?
I mean, yeah, it could work. I mean, why not? Like, I just think something needs to change because we've had 2 seasons of just substandard, boring football, and I've had enough. Like it's sapping my enjoyment of watching my club. And for me, I think we need to change. He's so inexperienced, and it's really like how many it's unheard of in the game. Well, it's very, very rare in the game to be given this many sort of chances and this much time. We've been a slowly sinking ship from day one, and I find it yeah, don't get me wrong. I like him. He seems like a nice bloke. He's obviously cares, and he's trying hard, and he's trying hard to he cares, which is a lot, which is I think is what Fred's touching upon. But I think we need to change it up. What do you think, Jack? Do you think he'll stay on?
I think he will stay.
Yeah.
I think he will stay. I don't know if that's the right.
You think that's the right decision?
No, I don't know. It is the truth. I really like Scott Parker, and I think he's a good bloke. But am I starting to become kind of disillusioned with the concept of what he's doing? Yeah, 100%. But is that question? Do you give people the time to grow, the time to the time to learn their trade? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, unfortunately. And if I did, I think I'd be paid more. But the truth is that it's such a strange one. There's a lot in the comments. Gavin saying Parker needs to go. Why doesn't he get someone to help him apart from Stuart Gray? He has Matty Wells. It's worth pointing that out. He brought a backroom team from Tottenham. Matty Wells seems to be a good bloke, kicking around, doing things, but there does seem to find. And Frank says Slav did this style of football 10 times better than Parker, which is true. But the fact is that that we went to the Premier League and we didn't give Savisa the time that he probably needed. And yet you can maybe argue that there was a change made there at the time that was the wrong change. And that's not to say that sacking Savisa was the wrong decision, because at the time we weren't winning games and it was difficult. But you look at that and you think, right, at that moment we could have got Julian Lopetegui in, and instead of that we brought Gaudio Ranieri, and that was the wrong decision, right?
Very cool.
No, and Carl says we did get a point, and you guys are cynical. Well, look, it's hard to not be cynical after watching that, Carl, because we've just thrown away a lead for for the 3rd time in 3 weeks. It's difficult. It's not Parker is shite. It's more, look at it and be like, look, there are elements of this that are difficult. How do you look at it long term? And is maybe the answer that, and look, I'm saying here that maybe the answer is actually giving Scott Parker time to build his philosophy. But Fred's you're looking at it and thinking, how long does that take? Is that a 5-year rebuild? Because if it is a 5-year rebuild, do we buy into that?
It's just, I really, really like the guy. I think we do have to stick with him, because there have been some green shoots this year in terms of defending. Obviously, defending's been a massive improvement, but we cannot attack. We just can't attack. I mean, today we got a penalty. We got a very jammy penalty, and that was that really. And I just think this Parker ball, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever, I would stay with him, to be honest, because I'm believing in the Daniel Farker, what he's done at Norwich. He's just got them up as well. So stick to your guns. But if it does go wrong in October, November time in the Championship, then we're going to have to make a change, obviously. I mean, whatever way you look at it, it could be Tony Khan, it could be Parker's tactics, it could be the penalty misses. You can blame so many on this absolutely messy year that we've had. There's so many factors that you have to kind of take into account judging Parker this year. I mean, it's just really, I think I would stay with him, though. I would stay with him.
Hey, David says he has the same points per game as Kit Simon, Scoops.
I mean, it's damning, isn't it? It's very telling. We've got another comment here that I just seen from Marcus Redstone, something that we talked about the last time I did full-time. I prefer the Championship anyway. Team made of mostly loans is always going to suffer. And Jack, I do genuinely think that this loan system that we're implementing, it just,
it's dangerous,
I mean,
isn't it?
It is because I mean, sure, is it like financial fair play? Why? Obviously, from Tony Khan's perspective, we are shooting, maybe punching above our weight in terms of the caliber of play that we can get in via a loan. But I feel like that needs to change, because you just don't have the same commitment to, as you would with a player that you own.
Yeah, maybe. I think you look at Mario Lemina last week, who was clearly the most emotional player on the pitch.
Yeah.
He's on loan. Like, I don't buy into the concept that lone players don't care. Like, I just don't buy it. I think there's too much to it. There's too much going on in terms of like an emotional attachment. People do care. Like, I don't think it's that. I do think though that it's a dangerous system because it means that you have to continually rebuild. That would be my problem with it. It means that you can't plan long term. And that's the key, maybe, like the fact that it isn't necessarily about the fact that they don't have the attachment, they don't have the love. That's fine, all right. And TNT Gums here said that Loftus Cheek doesn't care, and that might well be true. Like, you know what, like it is what it is. But one player out of exactly, Fred. Like, you have to kind of look at it. But I do think that the problem is that Fulham have no long-term plan, and that for me, Freddie, is the main issue.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously say that, but we've got a lot of players coming back from loan next year that are obviously going to dive straight into our team. I mean, the thought of Knockaert and Cavallero being on the wings next year for Fulham is really making my stomach feel quite sick, to be honest.
No, mate, the horseman would be fine in the Championship.
I mean, Christie, you'll be happy with that, Jack. You love Cyrus.
I'd be delighted to see Cyrus, but Cyrus needs to move on for everybody's sake. I think mostly his own. He needs to find someone who's loved.
Yeah, well, what I mean is, though, I think we do have players to come back and slot straight back into the squad. They're just much worse off players. But I mean, Tony Carney's just, you can say a million, you could write a whole essay about him. There's so many factors that you want to indulge in. I mean, Mawson's coming back as well. We spent 20 million.
Mate, if we have Mawson and Terence Congolo as the centre back partnership, they may as well be made of Weetabix, like a little bit of warm milk, and both of their knees will evaporate. I mean that, and I really wish the best for both of them. I mean that, like, genuinely, my whole heart. Like, I want them to be successful, but they're broken.
Yeah, but these are two signings we bought. They're two centre backs. 20 million on Mawson, which is absurd. He had a good season with Swansea, and Congolo, I don't know how he got past the medical. That is still beyond me. But these two signings, on top of a lot more dodgy signings from Tony Khan, and he's getting away scot-free. And I think obviously people are going to go down to Parker, but I'm sure Parker's just as sick as the recruitment as us, to be honest. Like, it's just a joke right at the moment.
If I'm honest, I said this on Thursday's podcast, right? Like, you look at it and you can pin the blame wherever you want. Like, if you want to pin the blame on Tony Khan, you can. There's enough reasons to pin that blame there, right? The recruitment, the fact they came late, etc., etc. If you want to pin the blame on Scott Parker, you can talk about the fact that no other team will play 7 at the back when they're holding on to a 1-goal lead, right? No other team refuses to attack games they want to win, right? You can pin the blame wherever you want, but the truth is there's blame to be apportioned everywhere.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's like and Inspector Calls when they all realise that like everyone's implicated. But it's just the thing that I'm struggling with is like it's a massive rebuild, and it's going to be a massive challenge to just collect our thoughts at the end of this. What's been a very, very long. It feels like it's gone on forever, doesn't it?
And the fact that we're not there, really does. Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I really don't know what to say.
We've just hit a wall, haven't we? There's a point here, and I'm not going to try and Jimmy HX says our youth academy, and this is something, right, that we hope to see if we do get relegated. Chances for Sylvester Jasper, chances for Kieran Bowie, for Jay Stansfield. And look, I'm the last person to say throw the kids in. Like, I think it needs to be done very, very carefully. And, you know, it needs to be done exactly, you know, it needs to be very, very carefully controlled. But it is an opportunity to get some of the youth prospects into this side. And the fact that the under-18s are such a successful side means that there will be talent in there that Fulham can look to. And that's something to cling on to in terms of if we do get relegated, then next year perhaps a youth academy surge, not throw them all in at once, because we've done that, as you say, Freddie, and it didn't work. But actually carefully feeding in youth is something that we can look forward to.
Yeah. And Freddie, you've done a bit of research on the youth team academy. Who are your ones to watch, would you say?
Well, there's obviously Sylvester standing out, Stansfield, obviously.
Carvalho is the jewel in the crown, right?
Yeah, Carvalho. But this is the one that he's been on loan for a few years, and Opoku is really, really shining out for me. He's been on loan at Accrington Stanley 2 years running, and he's been on loan at Plymouth, and they've extended his loan in January. And Plymouth fans literally rave about him. This guy's 6'4", centre back. He plays left back as well. He plays most games for Plymouth. I mean, surely we've got to be giving him a look in. He's 23. I mean, he can't be as bad as any other centre backs. If Kangolo and Mawson will be playing, as Jack said, they're made of bloody breadsticks. So I'd really.
I think that's unfair to breadsticks, Freddie.
I think Opoku has to be at least getting a look in. What do you think, Jack? Or haven't you really picked up on him?
I haven't spent too much time watching Accrington Stanley. I'll be perfectly honest, and therefore, no, I don't think that's. I'd rather say that I haven't. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to pretend that I spent what time. But I'll be willing to look at all the options next season and think, how do we kick on? Does Stevie Sess come back from that loan? Does he start a right back? Is Kenny Tete going to play in the championship? There's millions and millions of questions. But I don't think we need to go into them all now. David says, if Fulham stay up under Parker, I will stand outside Craven Cottage in nothing but lacy underwear with Parker is God painted on my chest. That's how confident I am we're down. Honestly, David, I'm really, really keen. You know, if I wasn't keen enough for us to stay up anyway as a fan, I just doubled it just to see this. But I'm just going to wrap it, boys. Final thoughts. It's hard to put into words, and it's hard to take. It's hard to suffer. But it's Fulham, and as my new flag says, only those who suffer truly learn to love.
Yeah. Exactly. You got to take the rough and the smooth, but today it was rough.
It's just insipid. That's all I can say. Especially behind closed doors, you can't. There's no sort of It's just we were so defensive today, and as Jack said, if we held on and it was 1-0 Fulham, we'd all be on here just absolutely laughing because we had no attacking cutting edge there, and we ultimately they blew the house down ultimately, but we can't go on much longer like this. We cannot.
Well, the good news is, Fred, that we won't be. There's only a couple of games left. That's it. That's all we've got. I hope this has tried to ease some of your pain, gang. Thank you for watching. It's been cathartic, I would say. It's probably the words I would use. It was definitely to say thank you very much to George Cooper.
Thanks, mate. We got there in the end.
All right. Thank you very much to Freddie Cooper.
Thank you, Jack. Thanks.
I've been Jack Collins. This has been Fulhamish Full Time. Try and enjoy the rest of your Sundays, gang.
Yeah.
I'd love to have more words of positivity, but we're Fulhamish. See you later.
See you later, guys.